Hello and welcome everybody to a new video from Jörg, Juggler 66, Hour of the Truth, once again in wonderful collaboration all over the big great ocean with Tom Fress from Inquisition Update. We have come here together to do the 6th episode of what we called the Roman Catholic Socialist agenda, and even though we went a little bit away from the Socialist agenda to Ecumenism, I think that in the run of this subject during the reading of this book Codeword Barbelon 2 and the chapter Evangelicals and Catholics Together, you will see how ecumenism just fits in with the Roman Catholic agenda of socialism all over the world. Because let's face it, if we all gonna put it down into one little sentence, the Roman Catholic Church wants to become the only religion in the world. So everything has to be put together. And that's like what they do with people. They want the borders to disappear. They want everyone to be quote unquote one, O-N-E, yeah, all we are one. As long as we are of goodwill, whether we believe in God or not, that doesn't even matter for the Pope. We have to be of goodwill. Remember the goodwill from Lucis Trust that we spoke about. And ecumenism is just another way of getting people the idea that losing everything is a good idea. And in the end, you will own nothing and will be happy. That's what they tell you. If you're on a lot of soma, I guess, or if you're not a Bible-believing Christian, I guess. When you don't have enough soma, you know, that's the drug from A Brave New World that keeps people quiet. Or when you're a Bible-believing Christian who has found his peace in Jesus Christ, then you will not be happy with that. But, you know, as a Bible-believing Christian, you have your peace in Jesus Christ, you shouldn't care so much. Because the world is what it is. The world will develop into that stage until finally our Lord comes back. And that's the hope we have, and that's what we are looking out for. But until he is still on the right hand of the Father in heaven, and the Father is busy with making his enemies his footstool before he comes home, we have to educate people about this subject. And Tom and I chose now to read part of this Codeword Barbelon book that Tom already read in 2012, so some 12 years ago. And we're going to do this a little again today, starting on page 452. But before I do, of course, let's hear Tom. Hello, Tom, and welcome to the broadcast.
Hello, Jörg, and hello to all the listeners. And glad to be here, and hope we make a productive session for the listeners and everybody to understand what about this Vatican Jesuit-led New World Order.
That's what's it all about in a nutshell, eh? The Jesuit-led New World Order. A New World Order that is absolutely not new, but that is just the restoration of the old world order of the time when the papacy had absolute power over the then known world, which was somewhere in the beginning of the 16th century. And they boasted of that in a council in 1512. I think I just don't remember the name of that council anymore. Yeah, that's true. We are going back there. And we are going back there, and we have to avoid many, many, many mistakes and many, many, many lies, I can tell you. We absolutely do. And even in this book, we will see that the author is not, quote-unquote, all-knowing, and that he uses terms that can be a little bit misleading, especially when you think of Bible prophecy and how Bible prophecy is understood and taught in this world, and that doesn't mean that it is the correct version of the Bible prophecy. Last reading, I think I went a little bit into that. We only read one paragraph on page 452, as I remember correctly. And that's why I want to start right in the beginning of that page once again, where it says, and Robert Schuller said, quote, "It's time for Protestants to go to the shepherd," meaning the Pope, and say, "What do we have to do to come home?" Unquote. How true that prophecy in Revelation 13 verse 3 is, which says, quote, "The deadly wound would be healed." And this is where I have a problem with using this expression from the Bible. There is certainly a wound that has been inflicted to the papacy. That is a wound that has been afflicted with the schism of 1054, that has been afflicted with the running of the Protestant Reformation from 1517 and Luther on. And there are maybe even other wounds that you can say. But the true wound, the one that is mentioned in Revelation chapter 13, verse 3, is a completely different one. But that is for another time of the study. Let me just say here, you can use the word wound, but please do not connect it with Revelation 13, verse 3. Because that, in my understanding, and my biblical understanding, is not correct. Anyway, indeed, the author says, confirming the fulfillment of this prophecy, Dominus Jesus, issued on September 5th, 2005 by the Vatican Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, which is just a fancy new title for the Inquisition, under the then Cardinal Ratzinger, now Antichrist Pope Benedict XVI, admitted, quote, the lack of unity among Christians is certainly a wound for the Catholic Church. Yes, and after all that I just said, I can agree. It is a wound of the Catholic Church, but it is not the wound referred to in Revelation 13:3. The same prophecy says that, quote, his deadly wound was healed, or would be healed, and all the world wondered after the beast, unquote. This move to unite with Rome, returning to the fold, and have the Pope as the head of Christendom is the final healing of the deadly wound. Protestantism will soon be absorbed into the Mother Church. And what is the main strategy used to effect this union? Pope John Paul, and this is speaking of Pope John Paul II, revealed, quote, the ecumenical effort is being intensified at different levels, thanks to constant contacts, meetings, and initiatives with our brethren of the different churches and Orthodox and Protestant ecclesial communities, unquote, which was published by the Roman Catholic publishing company Zenit.org on December 21st in 2004. Now, Pope John Paul II here says exactly with a little different words what I said in the introduction, that making the world one is a step on different levels. And that's what he says here. The ecumenical effort is being intensified at different levels. I would even say it is not only the ecumenical effort, I would say it is to advance the Roman Catholic Church's agenda is an effort that is being intensified at different levels. Among others, thanks to constant contacts, meetings and initiatives with, now in the sign of ecumenism, he speaks with our brethren of the different churches and Orthodox and Protestant ecclesial communities, but when we speak of the total agenda of the Roman Catholic Church, as Tom said so correctly, the Jesuit-led Vatican New World Order, we have to put in here, thanks to constant contacts with different governments, with different governmental organizations from different countries, with different non-governmental organizations from different countries, all kinds of foundations, committees, societies, secret societies, United Nations, NATO, and whatever you want to fill in there. All these contacts and meetings and initiatives, as Pope Paul II says here, are used to advance the agenda of the Roman Catholic Church. Tom, is there anything that you want to add to what I just said?
No, that's pretty comprehensive.
Oh, I hit the nail there.
Yeah, well, I'll give credit where credit's due.
Thanks. Okay. Then, if it is understandable for everyone, that is just the idea that I had. That's wonderful. So continue. At an annual week of prayer for Christian unity in January of 2010, a document that Catholics use in their prayer meetings was used. An annual week of prayer for Christian unity, a Roman Catholic prayer document was used. During this week, Catholic priests traded places, giving sermons from the same pulpit with clergymen of Protestant denominations. Oh, I have a picture on my computer that I want to show you that comes to mind in this, and you probably have seen this before. I used it in earlier broadcasts. This is a picture of the devil when he preaches from the pulpit. And by the way, very interesting. It says here, Sermons by the Devil. When you see this, this is a wonderful book that you can even get as a PDF to have a look at. And what we just read here, that Roman Catholic priests traded places with giving sermons from the same pulpit with clergymen of the Protestant denomination. What can you make of it by other than sermons by the devil, right? I mean, this is so fitting, this picture, in regard to what we've just read. There's even another picture, but I must have saved it under a different name. It didn't pop up right here. Echoing the 43-page agreement between the Catholics and Anglicans, the Daily Telegraph on June 1999 had this prophetic headline, quote, "Churches agree Pope has overall authority." The article stated, quote, "The Pope was recognized as the overall authority in the Christian world by an Anglican and Roman Catholic commission yesterday, which described him as a, quote, gift to be received by all the churches." End quotes. Do you think, Tom, it is a quote-unquote coincidence that the Daily Telegraph published this in June 1999, heading it, "Churches agree Pope has overall authority," and 5 months or 4 months later, the 31st of October in 1999, we had the signing of the agreement of the joint doctrine of justification with the Roman Catholic Church and the Lutheran Worldwide denomination?
Well, the world is being brought into conformity with the Antichrist of Rome. And the agenda has been established long ago, and it's just being put into practice. The Protestant and evangelical churches are whipped down to the point where they no longer exist. And now there's no more protest, and nobody even remembers what the protest was about. And the obstacles of reuniting with the Roman Catholic Church have fallen one by one. And now the yellow brick road to Rome is clear, and it's ready to turn up the pressure. And that's what this is. And it's government involved, it's the United Nations, it's the World Court, it's the world banking, everything is geared toward elevating the papacy to global supremacy. And there's no protest anymore, so there's nothing very much hindering the development of what Rome has always sought after, global domination. Now look, the Bible says the earth is mine and the fullness thereof. Well, that belongs to God, doesn't it? The earth is mine and the fullness thereof. But the papacy claims to be God on earth. So in their mind, and supposedly in our minds, we are to see the Pope as just as it says here, the overall authority of Christendom. Therefore, the earth is his and the fullness thereof. Okay? It's just like the phrase that you brought out earlier of the World Economic Forum. You will own nothing and you will be happy. That's just the flip side of what the Pope says of himself. The earth is mine and the fullness thereof. You see? If the earth is the Pope's and everything that's in it is the Pope's, then you will own nothing and you'll be happy. That's the message. This is the cost of forgetting what the protest was about. That's the cost of believing in futurism, that the 70th week of Daniel is not fulfilled in Christ. It's to be fulfilled in the future. That's what futurism is. It's a denial that Jesus was the fulfillment of it. So there must be a future fulfillment of it. And that's all part and parcel of the Vatican Jesuit-led New World Order. The New World Order is the earth is the Pope's, and the fullness thereof is his. And we will own nothing, and we'll be happy. Okay? It's like the papacy's been proclaiming for decades and decades and decades and hundreds of years that there's no such thing as private property. Everything has upon it a prior social mortgage. In other words, it's owned by someone other than yourself. You don't get to decide who gets to use it. Somebody else does, and of course, you have to be educated to know who that somebody else is. And we know who it is. And we're telling everybody that'll listen. The earth is mine and the fullness thereof. It's like Satan said to Jesus, you see all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them all? To you I will give them if you'll just bow down and worship me. Well, Jesus didn't bow down and worship him. Are we to assume that Satan didn't make that same offer to someone else? Of course he did. He did it to the Antichrist, the substitute of Christ, the replacement of Christ in the world, the vicar of Christ. That's what substitute means, the vicar of Christ. That's the papacy. The earth is mine and the fullness thereof. And see all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them all. To you I will give them if you'll just bow down and worship me. And that's what the papacy worships. And all the kings of the earth obey him because they don't worship God. And none of this would be possible were it not for the fact that Protestants have long ago forgotten to protest this phony so-called vicar of Christ in Rome. We used to protest the Antichrist of Rome. We used to expose him everywhere we went. And the Vatican, the papacy, pursued us to the tops of the Alps to kill us. And literally has soaked the ground with our blood for 2 millennia practically. But now in this late date, this latter days, we've forgotten to protest. And now the vicar of Christ, the replacement of the Son of God, the one who hates Christ because he says he's replaced him, is now in total power and control. And so if you're going to be someone of goodwill, you have to accept the fact that the papacy is now the overall authority of quote-unquote Christianity. And if you want to return to your Protestant protest, you're going to find a rough road to hoe. And that's where we're heading, swiftly. And ignorance is not bliss. All right, back to you, Jörg.
Thank you very much, Tom, for that wonderful explanation. I had a little bit different way of thinking in mind, but your way is, of course, also wonderful to be brought here. My point was, or would have been, the Daily Telegraph, which is a British publication, published in June 1999 the headline, "Churches Agree Pope Has Overall Authority." It is known to you and to me that there is a saying out in this world that when Protestantism falls in the cradle of Protestantism, which is Great Britain, then it falls all over the world. When we understand that a British publication, the Daily Telegraph, in June 99 publishes "Churches agree that Pope has overall authority," is a confirmation of that fall of Protestantism in good old England. And then we go a few months later to Germany, where the Lutheran Worldwide Federation signed the document of the joint justification, which is just a capitulation to the Roman Catholic Church. I think we see this sentence that I just quoted come into fulfillment. Isn't that right?
Well, yes, it is. And notice even further that up above here in the previous paragraph, it refers to the Roman Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church as being churches, but the Protestants are referred to as ecclesial communities. So who's running the thing and who's following? The Protestants are not going to be a part of this except to be second and third class citizens of this global Vatican Jesuit New World Order. They're not even considered to be churches. So, it's the very language that they use. If you read carefully, plainly indicates that the reparations that the papacy is going to claim of us because of the Protestant Reformation aren't nearly paid yet. And, the Protestant denominations, as they're referred to here, are going to be decimated. We're going to be so overrun with papists that we'll be fearful for our own lives. That's where we're headed. That's the reparations that Rome requires. In her mind, in her secret mind, we're still heretics. And it used to be fashionable, socially acceptable, to burn us at the stake and to feed our bodies to the dogs. Well, that's never changed. She just has to behave herself more diplomatically, at least in appearance. And got to make it look like our demise is our own fault. We brought it upon ourselves. And at least partially, it is our own fault. Like I've said before, repeatedly, we forgot the protest, and we're bringing this New World Order upon ourselves because we did forget the protest.
The Roman Catholic Church sugarcoats the path to the stake that we are going to be walking under her demise.
Yeah. Yep.
I just think when we read this little paragraph, Tom, it has some very important words. It is not only the title of the article, "Churches agree Pope has overall authority." In the article it stated the Pope was recognized as the overall authority in the Christian world by an Anglican and Roman Catholic Commission yesterday.
Yeah.
Now, first and for all, you and I, we both know, and we always vehemently deny that the Roman Catholic Church is any kind of Christianity in the first place.
No, that's right.
And that's absolutely true. But here, this British paper, this UK paper, Daily Telegraph, says the Pope was recognized as the overall authority in the Christian world. So that is that the Christian world, or the Protestant world, to use just another term, has completely capitulated to the Pope. This is in June 99, and a few months later you have the signing of the joint declaration for the justification with the Lutheran Church, where they're going even further. And in 2004 you have the signing of the same paper with the Worldwide Methodist congregation. What I just want to say is, when you know these historic dates, you can historically see the advancement of the papacy that it does, step by step by step, to come closer to their fulfillment of their Jesuit-led New World Order.
Mm-hmm. And you made an allusion to it earlier about the borders being erased.
Yes.
And that people are being allowed to flood into the different countries
and to resettle wherever they want. Yeah.
Yeah, and the purpose of that is is to reduce Protestantism to an extreme minority. There aren't any Protestants emigrating to this country.
There aren't any left anyway, Tom.
No, there's no Protestants left anyway, but certainly there's no Protestants emigrating to this country. They're Roman Catholic or any other religion, as long as they're not Protestant.
Sure, and you have these borders, these religious borders with Protestantism and Roman Catholic for one place, but you have all the other borders that are drawn on the map of this world with all these different countries. And by tearing down all those borders, what does the papacy do? It builds its new Tower of Babel. All people together, all people one. We have had that already in the first Babylon. And God was not pleased with it. God confused the languages and in that way divided mankind into different nations, as we know them still today. Well, not exactly in this way, but, you know, read the Old Testament and read through the chronology of the development of the nations there, and you'll see where it's all getting to. And this is what the Pope all wants to undo. He wants to go back to Babylon. Babylon, Babylon, mystery the great. Yeah.
Yep.
Shall I continue reading?
Certainly.
On the top of page 453, the author continues to say, while in Rome, to attend a funeral of Pope John Paul II on April 12, 2005, Rowan Williams, the Archbishop of Canterbury, said that, quote, the rift, or the wound, between Anglicans and Catholics stemming from the Reformation could finally be healed. So he speaks of that certain wound. As I said, there are many wounds, but don't equate them all with Revelation 13 verse 3. The Australian published this, what I've just read, in April 12th, New Life, Australia's Christian Weekly, on 14th of April 2005. In response, The Guardian from the UK, so British again, had the headline, quote, it's as if the Reformation had never happened. Reader, the wound is all but fully healed. Do you still doubt Bible prophecy? You would be advised to read Revelation 13. Yeah, and read Revelation 13 correctly. The ultimate aim of ecumenism is the Catholic mission. Most Protestant leaders, for some reason, seem to ignore that for the Catholic Church, ecumenism has only one goal, and the Pope has always made that clear. Pope Paul VI, in a key speech given at the opening of the second session of Vatican II in the 1960s, said, quote, this mystic and visible union of all Christians cannot be attained save in the organic harmony of a single ecclesiastical control, i.e. the papacy. And again, we have this word mystic or mystery that has nothing to do with true biblical understanding, because God is not teaching any mystery. God teaches everything clear. So whenever you come into mystic or mystery, you come into worldly, you come into the teaching of man and not the teaching of God. This mystic and visible union of all Christians cannot be attained save in the organic harmony of a single ecclesiastical control, i.e. the papacy. At a 2000 ecumenical assembly, all present agreed on two key points. First, Pope John Paul II was endorsed by consensus as the planet's chief spiritual guide and overseer. And second, religious fundamentalists who refuse to go along with the global ecumenical movement are to be silenced. They must be denounced as dangerous extremists full of hate.
Okay, there's our fate.
Yes.
They're telling us in writing what our fate is. who we are and what our end is. We're going
I
to be
don't.
called
Yeah,
dangerous extremists full of hate.
I don't know, Tom, if you ever saw that part of my series Hour of the Truth. Um, it's about Jesuit Georgetown University, the Devil's Playground. Did you see that part?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. In that part, there is a video clip of a Marine who speaks exactly that. That biblical fundamentalists are dangerous extremists who need to be taken care of. I don't have the right wording right now, but you can look that up. When you go to my channel and you go to the videos, let me just search the video here. Devil's Playground. That is a video I did some years ago. It's here. You see this? Episode 62. I recorded this on the 13th of November in 2018. And when we go to the video here, it's only an hour and 26 long. It's the Devil's Playground, Jesuit Georgetown University. And in this, there is a clip. Let me see if I find this, because there are many clips in there. I can just have a look here and show that to you. It would be interesting if I can show this to you right now. Of a meeting in Georgetown University. And this person, who is an ex-Marine, as far as I remember, spoke about the killing of Bible-believing Christians. Not in that direct terms, but you know. Well, I didn't prepare this broadcast, of course, not like this, but otherwise I can just put the link in the description box of this video and you can look it out, look at it for yourself. But that's a very interesting part to have a look at. And it's a meeting in Georgetown University, and Tom knows very well, Georgetown University was founded by John Carroll. It came out of the boys' school in Georgetown at the first place. So, well, I don't know where that is now. I know that it's in the video here, so you can have a look at it there for yourself. And that again gives you confirmation of this quote here. At the 2000 Ecumenical Assembly, all present agreed on two key points, of which the second is religious fundamentalists who refuse to go along with the global ecumenical movement are to be silenced. They must be denounced as dangerous extremists full of hate. As cited earlier, yes?
Oh, I'd like to make a comment about the use of the word fundamentalists.
Please.
It used to be the word fundamentalists applied to those who taught the fundamentals of biblical truth. That's what a fundamentalist was. That word was equated with Bible Protestantism. Okay? Now, that same word fundamentalism has been attached to those radical Islamists who strap bombs on their bodies and enter Jewish buses and kill hundreds of people, dozens of people with body bombs. They're radical fundamentalists, and so they've sullied, they've redefined the word fundamentalist just like they redefined the word Christianity. And now Christianity means Roman Catholicism, and anybody who's not Roman Catholic is well, a heretic. And same way with fundamentalists, where the word used to represent the fundamentals of Bible teaching, the fundamentals of biblical Christianity, is now equated with radical Islamism, or some religious fanatic that is a blight on society and the world and needs to be done away with because they're dangerous.
Well,
They're
Tom,
liable
try
to strap bombs on their bodies and go into churches and one thing and another. And even my Freemasonic brother-in-law refers to me as a fundamentalist. Well, where's he getting his education? Well, from Freemasonry. What I said before was just Jesuitism for nominal evangelicals. It's just they work for the Pope. They work for the Jesuit. Freemasonry is a concordant order, that is an order in concord, in agreement with Jesuitism. Okay? It's just a subdivision of Jesuitism. That's what Freemasonry is. And my Freemasonic brother-in-law now refers to me as a fundamentalist, and no doubt a radical fundamentalist, because I don't practice the man-made rituals that they participate in. Christmas and Easter and Sunday and all these other Roman Catholic traditions I've distanced myself from, and because I did that, just because I left those pagan practices, I put the spotlight on them, and that their retaliation is to lump me in with the radical fundamentalist Islamists who strap bombs on their bodies. And this comes straight from the Pope, when we're supposed to be regarded as dangerous extremists, full of hate. So they just redefine the terms, and once their definition is accepted, then they put us in their new definition. So, but I'm not ashamed of the word fundamentalists.
Oh, no.
I am a biblical fundamentalist. And but now, if I accept the term fundamentalist, it's as if I have identified myself as a radical, a dangerous radical, a bomb-toting radical that needs to be eradicated from society. That I'm a dangerous extremist full of hate. And here you see it in black and white. This is right out of the mouth of Antichrist, Pope John Paul II. It's right out of his playbook. And Freemasonry is playing right into it. Back to you.
Tridentine Catholicism is also fundamentalist.
That's right. Fundamentalist according to Roman Catholic teaching.
I found the clip, Tom. Normally you should hear the sound. If not, then please let me know. I'm going to play this clip for a second, okay?
Counterinsurgency, and particularly counterinsurgency.
Okay,
you hear that?
No, I don't hear the sound.
You don't hear the sound, okay. Then I have to stop our sharing screen and then share it again with sound, because Skype does that all of the time. I don't know why. Now, Tom, do you hear it now?
Subject of
okay, I hear it.
Counterinsurgency, and particularly counterinsurgency in Iraq. We are pleased at Georgetown School of Foreign Service and our Center for Peace and Security Studies to be joining with the Navy Center for Asymmetric Warfare to sponsor this morning's sessions. My name is Bob Gallucci. I'm the Dean of the School of Foreign Service. And we have as a first panel generally on the topic of counterinsurgency. Three panelists, their bios are in front of you, but I would be shocked and depressed if you didn't know who they were without me introducing them. Speaking second, Colonel T.X. Hames. His bio is there as well, 30 years in the Marine Corps, as it says, serving at all levels in the operating forces.
External actors have to be eliminated. These guys who are coming in are the most dangerous of all because they're true believers. And true believers, whether they're Muslim, they're Christian, or they're Marine, are dangerous people because there is no other way other than their way. And you've got to eliminate them.
This especially means fundamentalist believers, as we just said. So,
Right.
any questions? Did you get that, Tom?
Yes, I certainly did.
Ah, okay. Interesting, huh? I did this video, when was that? 2018. Speaking about that stuff. And today we're speaking about the same stuff again. Nothing's changed, huh? We
No.
are still dangerous extremists, as they say. Full of hate. By that, of course, Tom, I think that is a very valid point to make here. They completely forget that we Bible-believing fundamental Christians are full of love, sharing the truth with our brethren and everybody else in this world. What bigger sign of love for your neighbor is there but to tell him the truth?
And even do it at the risk of your own life.
And even do it at the risk of your own life, or your own well-being, your own survival in this quote-unquote world we live in.
That's
Okay.
why the earth is soaked with the blood of the saints and the martyrs of Jesus.
Yeah.
Because they loved not their lives even unto death. They told the world in terms that even a moron can understand who the Antichrist is and what his agenda is in the world. They exposed and condemned and protested against the man of sin in Rome, the papacy. And they were killed all the day long. And their properties were confiscated by the Roman Catholic Church. That's why the Roman Catholic Church is so filthy rich. They're drunk with the blood of the saints and the martyrs of Jesus. And yet those in our society today who would do like the martyrs did and subject themselves to universal hatred, universal condemnation, universal persecution, will still stand up in spite of it all and tell the truth about the man of sin in Rome and give their lives a ransom for many, just like Christ did, and suffer just like Christ did. That's true love. That's biblical love. That's God love. And the Lord called us to be living sacrifices, holy and acceptable unto God. Living sacrifices. And we would be living sacrifices if Rome didn't kill us all. With the help of her Freemasonic friends. Back to you, Yerk.
I just want to continue in the book, Tom. It says here, as cited earlier, the Catholic newspaper Southern Cross said in 1995 that, quote, for unity, all churches must accept papal authority. Okay, what do you have in the publication of the Daily Telegraph, June 1999, just 4 years later? Churches agree Pope has overall authority. Just 4 years later, it came into full fruition. Catholic priest J. Cornell confirms their definition of ecumenism. Quote, the final object of ecumenism, as Catholics conceive it, is unity in faith, worship, and the acknowledgement of the supreme spiritual authority of the Bishop of Rome. Unquote. In 2004, the Catholic News Service said, quote, Bishop Blair emphasized that for the Catholic Church, the ultimate goal of ecumenism is the full visible unity of all Christian churches in the one apostolic faith, which they say is Roman Catholicism. In other words, full community with the Church of Satan.
That's right. This is not the unity that Christ prayed for before his ascension. This is unity with the Antichrist. And this is what's being propounded in all the churches. This is what is being promoted. Not unity with Christ, unity with Antichrist. And people are being brought into this unity without their knowledge of what's really going on. And this subject is just too dangerous for other people to address and accept and teach. There's just only so much people will risk in their truth telling. And I don't have much respect for them, honestly, Yerk. I don't think anyone deserves any special accreditation except those who are willing to fully expose this Vatican Jesuit-led New World Order, this diabolical unity and ecumenism with the man of sin in Rome. And to the degree that the churches are ecumenically reuniting with the Roman Catholic Church, they're not Christian churches. They're Antichrist churches. That's what I call them, and I don't mince words with it. I don't cower away from it. I tell it like it is and accept the consequences. Back to you, Yerk.
I agree completely with that, Tom, and they will all wither away as the grass does on the field at the end of summer. On the next page, the book continues to say, this objective has all but been fulfilled. The quote-unquote Protestant, and those quotes are in the book, it's not me adding them, the quote-unquote Archbishop Alder of the Episcopal Church, the highest organ of the Church in England and the United States of America, confirmed this when he said, quote, we all sensed what God was saying to us. We were witnessing the end of Protestantism. God's church is Catholic. It was Catholic in the beginning, and it will be Catholic in the end. Unquote. From Saturday, May 10th, 1997. But what is Rome's real claim? I mean, her true claim in seeking to form allies with Protestants? Robert Grant, director of Christian Voice and a leader of the Christian right in America, let the cat out of the bag when he said, quote, if Christians unite, we can pass any law or any amendment, and that's exactly what we intend to do. Unquote. If Christians unite, we can pass any law or any amendment. Of course, that must read, if Catholics unite with everybody else, we can pass law or any amendment, and that's exactly what we intend to do. Now, when you look at the United States of America today, the country isn't ruled by a democratic Congress or a democratic Senate. It is ruled by executive orders of the president, who rules like an authoritative dictator. That's what I say from over here in Europe, looking at the United States of America. Christians united with the Roman Catholic Church, and now they pass any law or amendment, and that's exactly what they intend to do and what they do already. Do you remember how many Protestants are on the United States Supreme Court? This is already for about 20 years or something that there is not one Protestant. It's 6 or 7 Roman Catholics and 2 or 3 Jews. So when talking of religion in the United States Supreme Court, there is no Protestant to be found. How can you even equate the United States of America today as a Protestant country? It's something that I just can't fathom. Now, the author continues and says, but what amendment? Yeah? We can say any law or any amendment, he says. But what amendment, the author asks? The one that forbids Congress dealing with religious establishment? Quote, the supreme duty of Catholics is to obey the Pope and seek in every way, and especially by means of the ballot, to render the Catholic policy effective in this country. Unquote. From Catholic World, Volume 11, number 64, 1870. 1870, 154 years from today where we do this reading. And some 95 years before Vatican II, in whose constitution it is written that every lay Catholic has to put everything in his power to advance the agenda of the Roman Catholic Church in his office. Chapter 1 of Rulers of Evil. Quote, all Catholics must make themselves felt as active elements in the daily political life in the countries where they live. All Catholics should exert their power to cause the constitution of the states to be modeled on the principles of the true Church. This is what Pope Leo XIII in his encyclical letter in 1890 said. And when you understand what he says, he says actually, all Catholics should exert their power to cause the constitution of the states, and this is the United States, but also England and Germany and other quote-unquote democratic countries, to be modeled on the principles of Roman Catholic canon law. And there's no freedom left. And Tom read many books on that subject. James Atkin Wiley and his work, Roman, what's it called, Tom?
Romanism and the Reformation.
No, James Atkin Wiley.
The history of Protestantism, and he read so many works.
The book on the. I was speaking about the thing of the Roman, of the Roman.
Papacy is the Antichrist.
Of the canon law there. Roman civil liberty.
Roman civil liberty, yeah.
That's it. Finally we get to it, but that's a wonderful book. Tom read that years ago. You read also, of course, Romanism and the Reformation, but on the political state, I think there's one book that we should mention that you never finished on First Amendment Radio, and that is by John Dowling, History of Romanism.
Yeah. The history of Romanism. Right.
Yeah, that is something maybe for in the future to attend back to and finish. It was a wonderful book, and I think you did about 150, 160 broadcasts. And then something changed. Anyway, think of what I just read to you here. All Catholics must make themselves felt as active elements in the daily political life in the countries where they live. So here Pope Leo XIII in his encyclical letter in 1890 says exactly the same thing that was put into the constitution of the Second Vatican Council in 1965. Okay? To be modeled on the principles of the true Church, and the principles of the true Church are their tradition and their Roman Catholic canon law. Now, if anybody of you shivers because of, the Islamic State is coming and the Sharia law is being established here. The Sharia law is a children's playground against Roman Catholic canon law, and history reveals that. But what specific law will they seek to have enforced by this constitutional amendment? The author asks. Quote, all Americans would do well to petition the President and the Congress to make a federal law, an amendment to the Constitution if need to be, to re-establish the Sabbath, meaning the Sunday, as a national day of rest. Unquote. Catholic Twin Circle, August 25th, 1985, Article sacking Sunday. Reader, this biblically predicted union between Romanism and apostate Protestantism is far more advanced than many realize. And this is the reason for our broadcast here. On March 31st in 2006, in a gathering at Simpsonwood Conference and Retreat Center near Atlanta, Georgia, quote, national leaders from 5 Christian families, evangelical, Pentecostal, historic Protestant, historic racial, ethnic, Orthodox, and Catholic, made the equally historic decision to organize officially as Christian Churches Together, CCT, in the United States of America. The operative word there is together. They are now one, even though they still maintain the appearance of separateness. We are talking about evangelical, Pentecostal, historic Protestant, historic racial ethnic, Orthodox and Catholic, all together under the name of Christian Churches Together in the United States. CCT, Christian Churches Together, calls itself, quote, the most inclusive fellowship of Christian churches and traditions, unquote, in the United States. It is important to note that this is the first time in history that leaders representing the 5 major Christian denominations in the United States, the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, ELCA, the Episcopal Anglican Church, and others such as the Salvation Army, Open Bible Churches, International Pentecostal Holiness Church, and Roman Catholic Church have come together at a national level. On this webpage is a list of the churches in CCT, and he gives the URL in a footnote. I don't need to read that to you. You can do that for yourself when you get this book, which is still available at the publishing company Lux Verbi for about $35. He continues to say, on its website, CCT lists among its goals the celebrating a common confession of faith in the triune God and seeking reconciliation by affirming our commonalities and understanding our differences. The website adds that, quote, 34 churches and national Christian organizations representing over 100 million Americans have officially formed the broadest, most inclusive fellowship of Christian churches and traditions in the United States of America, unquote. It goes without saying, reader, that this is a significant force to be reckoned with on any level. And Christian Churches Together is pushing for the laws that reflect its values. This giant coalition of Christians, and I would even put Christians in quotation marks here, would have the political muscle to get Congress to enact almost any legislation that churches desire.
And the first thing they did was abolish abortion. They overturned Roe v. Wade, and everybody agrees with it. I don't disagree with it either. But they're using that as the crown, the crowning jewel of all the future legislation that these CCT churches are going to accomplish in government. And that is the destruction of true biblical Christianity. And they're going to name it radical Christian fundamentalism, and they're going to eradicate it. They're going to take away all of our biblical Christian tenets and liberties, even to the point of the ownership of private property. It's a thing of the past. No more will you own any property, okay? And it's going to be universally, governmentally sanctioned theft of your property and the common use of all goods in this world. That's the Christianity that they're seeking unity with. They started off with overturning Roe v. Wade, and they got everybody on board with that. But it's going to go downhill fast. And as we're about to have a very abrupt wake-up call. And all of a sudden, people like Yerk and me are going to start getting more attention. People are going to start listening more and more fearfully than they ever did before, too. You can bet on that. Back to you, Yerk.
Yeah, Tom, there's an interesting quote I somewhere read years ago that says, the more freedom people have, the farther they move from God. But the more their freedoms are taken away and restricted, the closer they seek God. And
Well,
that
that's
are the
true.
times, and that are the times that we are going into. And when you are living in the United States of America with open eyes ever since 9/11 2001, you can see how your freedoms are done away with daily, on a daily basis. And the more that you are getting involved in that, the more that you personally experiencing this to be happening in your own life, the more you see how your freedoms are taken away, the more you will seek God. And that's a good thing. And we are here to help you to find the only true God. Tom, I want to continue one last paragraph. It's the last but one paragraph on page 455, and then round up this wonderful broadcast today and prepare for the next one next week. It says, but the real agency behind Christian Churches Together was hinted at by the Catholic News Service on its website when it made reference to an earlier Catholic Church, Christian Churches Together, Catholic Churches Together, I almost said,
Yeah.
which is more correctly anyway, meeting of 2005, quote, at the June 1 to 3rd June meeting held at the Jesuit Conference Center in Los Altos, representatives of the member churches prayed and worshipped together and engaged in intensive dialogue and sharing. With some 67 million members, the Catholic Church has about 22 million more adherents than all NCC members' denominations combined, unquote. Where was this foundational meeting held? At the Jesuit Conference Center. Now you turn back to Codeword Barbelon 1. 666, Danger in the Vatican, the Jesuit and their plans for world denomination. And I'll see you next week and leave the closing remarks for Tom for today.
Well, I'll just close with this and something for the listeners to ponder. Revelation chapter 17 speaks of a woman decked in scarlet and purple and silver and gold and precious pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of the filthiness of her fornication. And she also has daughters. Guess who they are? I'll see you next time.